very good morning to you and welcome to the manufacturer's latest webinar. It's called Connected and Intelligent, the route to smarter manufacturing for SMEs. My name's Nick Peters. I'm the editorial director here at the manufacturer. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping points. If you've got any questions during the course of the presentations you're going to hear this morning, there's a little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, perhaps at the top of your screen. It depends on what sort of computer and software you've got. But look out for the Q&A or Ask a Question button. Text the questions to us. I'll be collating them, and then we'll get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar. When it's all over and done with, we will be sending everyone a video of the whole thing, along with our contact details. Please do engage on a one-on-one basis afterwards, either with us or with the folk at Oracle NetSuite, if there are still issues you'd like addressed. So, on with the show. This webinar will be taking an in-depth look at connected technologies, the impact they can have on SMEs, and how the UK compares to the rest of the world when it comes to adoption. In addition, we'll hear about the findings from the latest UK industry survey on the extent of the UK's productivity gap, how software and IT can link whole manufacturing organization together, and hear how modern technology is enabling SMEs to punch well above their weight. Joining us to present and discuss this topic are Matthew Stonelake, who's Senior Solution Consultant at Oracle NetSuite, and my colleague Henry Anson, Director here at the manufacturer. Without further ado, let's start with Henry Anson. Henry, over to you.
Morning, everybody, and thanks, Nick, for the introduction. As Nick mentioned, my name is Henry Anson. I'm Managing Director of the Hennick Group, and we're the publishers of the Manufacturer magazine, organisers of the TMMX Awards, Smart Factory Expo, and the annual Leaders Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, we seem to have a little fire alarm. This is the joys of live webinars. I'm here today to talk about the Smarter Manufacturing for SMEs survey. You can see the responses that we've had and the level of engagement we've had and the size of companies that engaged with the survey. We conducted this in the autumn of last year and published a report just before Christmas. We're very grateful to Oracle NetSuite for their support on this and enjoy working with them because they have a particular interest in this critical sector. I say critical sector because, as many of you will have read, Jürgen Meyer produced the Made Smarter report, all 273 pages of it, before Christmas and presented it to government as part of the industrial strategy. In it, Jürgen and his colleagues identify SMEs in UK manufacturing as the critical segment, and particularly in regards to getting SMEs engaged with this digital revolution that we're going through at the moment. So, getting on to the survey itself, obviously we have some fantastic and really ambitious growth targets as a group. You can see that nearly 65% of people have ambitious growth targets for 2018. This ties in very nicely with the global upswing in manufacturing, which we believe is largely powered by the booming US economy, and actually China returning to growth after 5 years, sucking up a lot of imports. There's no doubt about it that that global manufacturing is benefiting from this, and UK manufacturing is also benefiting. I mean, clearly we are in a competitive global environment, so it's not just about us, and it's vital that we, as the UK, seize this opportunity. Although the outlook, and I think at least the next 12 months, is very positive, there are certainly 2 or 3 potential very strong headwinds that could blow very quickly over the sector. Obviously, Brexit being one. There was a relatively positive outcome before Christmas, but we now move into the trade talks, and we don't obviously have any real insight as to which way those are going to go. But hopefully, the softer the Brexit, the better, I think, for the UK manufacturing sector. The second one that I would identify is that we obviously have a very weak government at the moment, and there's a strong possibility of a general election during the next 12 months and potentially a change of government with all this policy implications that brings. We also have a rather unique president sitting in the United States at the moment, and we don't know from day to day which way he will go or turn, and obviously with particular reference to North Korea and Iraq, but largely very positive. So this next slide discusses your approach to breaking into new markets. And again, very, very positive. Developing new products, stroke 40%, and developing new products and entering into new geographies, about 35%. This, again, chimes with what we hear at the manufacturer. Britain, and particularly the SME sector, is hugely innovative. And it's continuing to be so. And I think this digital revolution, or whatever you want to call it, is spurring this innovation spurt. Again, Made Smarter had a lot of reference to innovation and encouragement of innovation. One of the positive unintended consequences of Brexit that we're hearing and seeing is that UK manufacturers who traditionally exported to the European Union are now actively and proactively searching for new markets, which is encouraging. So, as I said, an unintended benefit of it. The barriers, and clearly there are some. And the perennial favourite is very much at the top of the list, with 65% of you identifying skill shortages as a barrier to growth. I think this is actually, I'm afraid, worse than we think, because as Jürgen Meyer said in the Made Smarter report again, not only is there a skill shortage, 1.4 million people already employed in manufacturing need to be retrained in order to engage with this digital and be fit for purpose in this digital revolution. So skills is and will continue to be one of the single biggest factors restraining growth for your business. It's easy for me to say, sitting in my ivory towers, but I would seriously encourage every and each one of you to engage with your local schools, because it's only by getting kids involved and excited by manufacturing at an early stage that you'll get them in through your doors at whatever level you need. It's interesting that access to finance appeared really quite high on the list of barriers to growth. I genuinely believe that this is more historical than actual. We talk to and meet and discuss manufacturing with all the major banks, and particularly the heads of the SME sections of these banks. And I can assure everyone on this webinar that they are genuinely open for business, keen to get involved in manufacturing and have increasing levels of understanding of manufacturing specific requirements and things. Also, an interesting thing was only 20% of people actually saw software as a barrier to change. We detected a very discernible change in manufacturers' attitudes towards software. Many of you were missold systems back in the 1990s, late 1990s, and as a result saw software as a necessary evil. We believe that's changing, and manufacturing companies are now viewing software as a business enabler rather than this sort of cost center. So positive steps in that direction as well. Okay, so the next two slides about how you communicate with your customers and then with your suppliers. And really quite an extraordinary response. 85, nearly 90% of the respondees to the survey still communicated via paper, email, faxes, and phones when talking to customers. This is lagging well behind retail and finance, which are far more advanced. And I think manufacturing really does need to sort of up its game when it comes to understanding your customer and knowing your customer better. Customers are becoming ever more demanding and requiring, almost immediate response from their suppliers, and also instant gratification. So, paper-based or phone or fax-based approaches will not really cut the mustard anymore. Same question, but aimed at your communication with suppliers, and again with a very, very similar response, really, in terms of the numbers of people responding and replying and communicating with their suppliers by paper, email, faxes, and phone. This really isn't embracing modern technology, and it will become a requirement if you want to sell into tier 1s or tier 2 manufacturers in the UK. Systems like EDI, electronic data interchange, and collaborative hubs are becoming easier, more affordable, and really should be embraced as a means of communication with both suppliers and customers. So moving on to the next slide. I'd just like to sort of qualify this a bit, actually. People are talking about Industry 4.0. A lot of people have got sort of Industry 4.0 boredom. People are talking about IR4. A lot of people are saying it's not a revolution, it's an advanced evolution. A lot of people talk about digitalization. I really don't think the naming of what's going on at the moment is really that important. It's the fact that it's happening. There is a real rush, a real concerted drive towards this digitalization of the sector. And I urge you all not to get left behind. Whatever we call it, digitalization of manufacturing is, in my view, is like a car, and a car has 4 wheels. Each wheel needs to turn at the same speed and in the same direction in order to get to the end of your journey. And the 4 wheels of digitalization are hardware, software, connectivity, and people. And all 4 of those need to be turning at the same direction, in the same direction, at the same speed to get you to the end of that journey. One encouraging thing that we've noticed here, again, from anecdotal conversations with manufacturers, but also from research such as this, is that the discussion about 4.0 has gone from theoretical, which was certainly the case in late 2017, to actual reality. Now, companies are all at very different stages on the journey. I sat next to a mid-sized manufacturer at a dinner just before Christmas, and he proudly announced that they'd started their digital journey. They'd just invested in a new ERP system. And many of you would have had ERP systems for decades, but in his view, he had started that journey. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is that everyone's journey starts and will end at different places, but the fact is you're on the journey. This is leading to some very overdue investment in the sector across those 4 wheels that I discussed a minute ago. British manufacturing, I think, suffered from decades of underinvestment and a make, do and mend philosophy. Now is not the time to make, do and mend. You simply have to get involved with all this new technology, whether it's software, whether it's hardware, whether it's connectivity. Investment is one of the key factors at the moment. So this is quite an interesting slide, especially given the one earlier saying only 20% saw that software was a barrier. 35% of people who responded to our survey, the Oracle NetSuite manufacturer survey, stated they didn't think their existing ERP system was able to support the changes and developments that you need to make in respect to 4.0. Now, I would argue that this is possibly a result of not understanding, not utilizing the full effectiveness of your ERP system. It's a well-known fact that, that many ERP implementations fail because of a lack of a change management program within the manufacturer itself, educating its staff and people as to the full benefits and the full range of activity that the ERP system offers. I'd also like to add that new ERP systems, such as the ones sold by Oracle NetSuite, are far more agile than the traditional ERP systems, are cloud-based, and are using software as a service as a business model. This makes it more affordable, easier to implement, and more agile. Perhaps one of the reasons why 35% of you said that you didn't think that ERP was capable of supporting change reflects a lack of agility in legacy IT systems rather than actually the potential of the newer version, the newer breed. So coming to the conclusion of my very short introduction to this webinar, and before I hand over, I just got to summarize with some really positive feedback. There is lots of ambition within SME manufacturers, and this is consistent with what's going on in the global environment. As I said earlier, all of our competitive countries are also benefiting from this growth in global manufacturing. So simply riding a wave is not good enough. We've got to get ahead of the wave. It's very encouraging that IT is viewed as an enabler now rather than a necessary evil, and that I continue to urge you to adopt a more proactive and engaged response. SMEs are in the spotlight, massively in the spotlight, with government, with things like Made Smarter. So again, let's capitalize on this spotlight that's on us at the moment to really drive our businesses forward. There's a window of opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, and it will close. Sooner or later, if we don't invest, other countries will overtake us, and the danger is that UK manufacturing becomes an irrelevance. So I think my sort of final comment and clarion call is invest now, and invest sensibly. Thank you for listening. And without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to my colleague at Oracle NetSuite, Matt Stonelake, who is a senior solution consultant at Oracle NetSuite. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. So yes, my name is Matthew Stonelake. I'm here at Oracle NetSuite, and today I'm going to start taking you through a little bit about NetSuite and how that ties back into the manufacturer's report, which Henry's just taken you through. So I need to start by highlighting our safe harbor statement here, and really to highlight that today's presentation is intended for information purposes only, and is not a commitment to future deliveries or functionality. So in terms of my agenda then for this morning, I'm going to start by taking you through an introduction to NetSuite, what it looks like and how the whole application works. I'm then going to touch on three key themes from the manufacturer's report. I'm going to start by looking at how manufacturing execution can transform the shop floor, and then tying that into the importance of BI and how that can enable you to make faster and smarter decisions in your business. And then finally looking at the customer, so how you keep the customer at the center of your business using NetSuite. So these metrics emphasize our credibility as a #1 provider of cloud ERP. From our inception in 1998, we've been a pure cloud solution. We knew that in order to mitigate the pain associated with legacy ERP, we had to change the game itself. We knew that it was time for software to truly be delivered as a service. NetSuite's scale and ability to execute are unsurpassed. We support everything from emerging companies to public companies and through to some of the largest enterprises. NetSuite is the fastest growing financial management platform in the world. We have over 40,000 organizations all running the same version of the product. Almost every new IPO over the last several years is running on NetSuite. What a testament to innovation. NetSuite has been growing like this for years, and with our acquisition by Oracle in late 2016, we will continue this growth. So rest assured that not only is the platform capable of this growth, but our ability to execute at these growth levels has been proven over many years. This is not new to us. We've been doing it for years. We are proven, reliable, and scalable. So as you all know, running a successful business is about dealing with threats and opportunities. It's about putting your company and people in the right position to deal with those situations when they fortunately or unfortunately arise. Every business has a different next, and in today's economy, next is coming at a frightening rate. Business needs to react in weeks and months and not years in order to take advantage of opportunity or to squash threats. For some, their next is global expansion. For another, it could be a new product launch, adding subscription services, or being ready for the Internet of Things. The manufacturer's report highlights the biggest priorities are indeed product innovation and service innovation. We're finding a growing number of our manufacturing customers not only design and build their products, but they are beginning to commoditize complementary services around their products too. The NetSuite platform enables this growth through our breadth of functionality, such as features supporting professional services, or our ability to run software companies, giving you the ability to grow your customer offerings without requiring additional infrastructure. The point is that every next is different. Your company's future depends on your stage of growth and your industry. Whatever your next is, you must have a system in place to meet those associated challenges. Unfortunately for most companies, this is what their systems look like. Very fragmented, siloed, and inefficient. As a result, it's next to impossible for them to respond to the constant change faced in the world today. They would have to replace 10 to 15 systems that are monolithic, systems that have different technologies, aren't easily integrated, are a stock on older versions from past customizations that were created by developers who no longer work there or have been sunsetted, etc. A lot of time, it is easier not to touch anything and add standalone new module with no integration, more workarounds, and more chaos. They have a huge mess on their hands and they're vulnerable to competitors because of it. Suddenly, everyone has been preaching cloud is the magical cure. All of this, however, many cloud products were not written for the cloud. The owners have just hosted them and charged for them on a software as a service basis. The end results are the same as on-premise though, integration nightmares and version locks. And so the same results manifest themselves. Data is fragmented, processes sit in silos, there are multiple user interfaces, broken transactions, and no single version of the truth. And that's where NetSuite is designed to address. First and foremost is our philosophy. We were born in the cloud and designed to address an entire business. NetSuite is cloud first and cloud only, meaning it has all the tenets you would associate with a real cloud solution. Access using any device, anytime, anywhere. Customer oriented, easy for anyone to pick up and use without extensive training, fit for purpose and always up to date. NetSuite is built to run a business. Most other cloud products out there were not built to run a business. They started off built to run something, meaning that when other capabilities were added, they seemed like a bolt-on. NetSuite knew from day one, every function within a company needed a solution as though it was designed for them. That's why it has all the key business functions represented equally: finance, sales, products, and of course manufacturing, ensuring that when users access the system, it looks as though it has been specifically written for their role. NetSuite is built on a single data source. Our unified data model is the key to being able to enable BI the way companies need it today. It allows you to report and analyze your entire business end to end. It's all real time with no need to build complex data warehouses with multiple moving parts, and all of this is built on the Suite Cloud platform. NetSuite's Suite Cloud platform offers unrivaled levels of personalization, customization, and development, all within a framework that ensures security, scalability, and globalization are built in as a capability being kept up to date with the latest version of the software. NetSuite provides the functionality that every business needs to be successful: core financials, SCM, CRM, e-commerce, and manufacturing capabilities such as standard costing, capacity planning with finite scheduling, and manufacturing execution with real-time data collection. And of course, all of this is coupled with our Built for NetSuite program, where our partners are building on top of our platform to ensure companies have what is needed to be successful. We are able to also handle the difficult task of going global with multi-book, multi-language, multi-currency, and multi-country tax compliance. And last but not least, is that it's built for your industry. We make sure that NetSuite has what's needed across multiple different sectors, enabling you to grow, as I mentioned previously, growing into additional sectors such as applying software or service elements to your products and offerings. So this slide says it all. It emphasizes the breadth of customers from small to large and just how NetSuite has enabled these companies to scale their business. I'm sure you recognize at least a few of the companies on this slide, and I'll just take the time to highlight GoPro, a sports camera company. They use us end to end and are not only a great example of NetSuite scaling up alongside extremely rapid business growth, since their revenue has increased 300% year on year, but they are also a fantastic representation of the increased productivity and efficiency experienced on the NetSuite solution, as we have reduced their order management workflow from 20 minutes to just 30 seconds, significantly aiding their ability to grow as a company. However, having the right cloud suite is just a starting point. Not only do manufacturers require a system that offers the breadth of functionality to enable a growing and diversifying business, but you need deep functionality to ensure the core is run efficiently. I'm now going to discuss the three areas where NetSuite addresses these fundamentals. So I'm going to look at manufacturing execution, business intelligence, and customer focus. So first of all, manufacturing execution. So getting started with a typical manufacturing execution system can seem like a daunting task. New software, new hardware, new infrastructure, let alone retraining the shop floor to understand when and how they need to input data and record results. What though if it could be delivered from your ERP without no new hardware or expensive hardware to commission? The manufacturer's report highlights the concerns manufacturing companies have with regards to implementing data collection. Almost 50% of respondents raised this concern. Today, I'm going to show you how NetSuite makes this process simple, and most importantly, makes it simple for the shop floor to embrace the change. Through NetSuite's deep manufacturing capabilities, the shop floor is greeted with live work queues, enabling prioritization on the fly by production managers and supervisors. On top of this, we remove the headache of releasing production schedules, which are unrealistic, thus getting ignored by the shop floor. Our finite scheduling ensures that any schedule issued to the shop floor is achievable. And of course, in return, the production managers and business gain from real-time data from the shop floor, understanding the true state of production at any given time, allowing for bottlenecks to be addressed as they occur. So if we look at a typical manufacturing flow that we see on a day-to-day basis, we start with the creation of a work order. We then schedule that work order. We print it and issue it to the shop floor. The shop floor then complete the work, and then that manually gets put back into the ERP. But what we see along that process is a lot of room for errors and inefficiency. So often we see work orders being rekeyed from one system into another, of course introducing options for rekeying mistakes. Scheduling the work orders, and often things I see on many occasions are a lack of raw material or lack of visibility to check, do we have raw material to actually build our work orders? And do we even have capacity on the shop floor to produce the work orders we want to release? Once we print and issue those work orders, of course, that's a manual process to start production. But what happens if you want to reprioritize? Is it just a case of going out to the shop floor and resorting that stack of paper? That's something we see on a day-to-day basis. So once the shop floor completes their work orders, typically we find results written up on paper and then handed back to a supervisor to update the ERP. And of course, that introduces a time lag. So we build up this backlog of updates. We lose documentation, and obviously we lose raw material consumption at that point. So our inventory levels are then out of date with what's actually being consumed. So this is something we're seeing on a typical day-to-day basis that people are trying to address. So I'm going to show you a few different screenshots of NetSuite and how we address those issues. So in this example here, what I'm showing you is our planning board, which is ensuring that any work order you release can be scheduled. I don't expect you to read the numbers on the screen, but what we're seeing is for one particular work center per day, we're seeing the capacity, and we're highlighting in red in some cases here where we are planning at 100%. And we warn you if you're over 90%, because obviously 100% is pretty tight. We of course warn you if you're overproducing or if you're trying to overschedule too much on one day. And of course, we're also highlighting where you have capacity. So you're seeing in green where you're not scheduled any work, but actually could schedule, for example. We can also represent that in many different views. This is a typical view our customers like to see. So more of a production schedule, more of a Gantt chart. So you can see for a particular work center, what are we planning to build? Even how far through that process are you? So lots of different views, but making it easier for a production manager and a production supervisor to really understand what the shop floor should be doing so that you know you're not going to be releasing work orders which can't be achieved. Of course, I should say that our finite scheduling engine will schedule the work orders automatically to not provide or to not make kind of overcapacity issues. But of course, you can then go in and flex that schedule as you then choose. So moving on to the shop floor, this is a view that our customers use through our tablet. So this is a tablet the shop floor have on their workstations. They log into a particular work center, and this is now providing that particular operator with a work queue. So this is focused on a particular date range the operator has chosen. It's showing all of the work orders in a particular state, in this case, they're all released, ready for production. So I know that all of the material has been committed to these work orders. I know that if I was to go and try and build one of these, there would be sufficient stock. But this, for me, as an operator, is that queue to go in and start building. Now, you can choose how you sort this. So, for example, you're seeing the priority on the screen. You could sort your tablet so that the top priority, i.e. our rush orders, automatically get sequenced and go to the top of the queue for the operator. So we're eliminating that paper-based system of going out, resequencing a piece of paper just to try and move a customer order up the priority chain. So once we start production, we're then going to capture that in real time. So in this case, we're seeing a particular operator building a particular product at a particular workstation. Once they start building, they hit the start button at the top left-hand corner. That started the timer. So you're now seeing that we're mid-production. So we're capturing these times in real time. We're going to report the number of products we've built. So it could be a work order for a quantity of more than one, and you may produce them in a number of different batches. So again, we can show that on here. We can schedule by batch in the first place, but the operator can then report as he produces what he has produced. For material issue, he's going to note on here the materials he's consuming at the point of consuming them. That's instantly going to update your stock levels as soon as he clicks any of these material issue buttons. And of course, we're going to capture the components used. So it's not just about you should have used one or two of these. We ask the operator, how many did you actually consume? Because you want to know from your costing methods. If you're using standard costing, for example, you want all of those variances to be posted to your variance accounts. But also, when we do consume material, we ask the operator for the serial number or the lot number as they're consuming. So that whole as-built record gets built for you by the operator as they're using this tablet interface. If we had scrap, so if we had any particular quality issues, we can record that scrap as it happens. And of course, downtime you're seeing at the bottom of the screen. if a downtime situation were to occur, all the operator has to do is select from those lists of what the cause of downtime is. That's then going to start a different timer. We're now going to start timing what is our downtime. So we're now going to pause our production timer and start our downtime timer. You'll also see that the screen is now turned an orange color. So if you are a production supervisor, you can easily be walking around the shop floor and you can be looking for green screens. They're good, you know, production's happening and everything's online. If you've got any orange screens, then that's obviously your cue to go to that workstation and assist in unblocking a particular piece of downtime. So again, all of this is captured in real time. And from the operator's perspective, there's no keying in data after the event. It's simply you start the timer, you choose downtime, you then stop it, and you continue production. So really, really simple. It's all around, this whole screen has been focused around making it easy for the operator, so it becomes an easy technology to adopt by the business. And last but not least is our work instructions built into NetSuite. So as you're building your routings within NetSuite, you can also build your work instructions. You can sequence your work instructions, obviously. But so what you're seeing here from an operator is not only am I able to report my production, I can view all of the instructions you've posed for that operator specific for that product at that one particular operation. Of course, if you had drawings or technical documents, you can hyperlink those from NetSuite as well. So all of the data we collect is great, but data is just data. So you need to turn this data into information, giving you improved knowledge of your business and identify areas to focus your efforts on optimizing. The manufacturer's report highlighted that just under 20% of respondents make active use of the business intelligence and analytics features within their ERP. And this is something I see on a day-to-day basis. Incumbent ERPs typically haven't been strong on enabling you, the users, create the dashboards, reports, and metrics that are important to you. NetSuite's dashboards and reporting structure ensures that each user sees the information relevant to their role, so to drive proactive steps throughout the business. So be that operational efficiency, payments due to suppliers, or customer orders to invoice. All of these metrics are fundamental in enabling faster decision making. But we don't just want you to have great data today, we want you to have great information tomorrow too. That's why with NetSuite you have the flexibility to create and edit your own reports and dashboards without any technical knowledge or training. It really is intuitive and user-friendly. And what underpins all of this was real-time data. Extracting data from multiple systems, consolidating in Excel, editing to remove mismatches. All of this adds cost to reporting, but also means you report less frequently. And of course, you miss out on being proactive. With NetSuite, all of your reports and dashboards are 100% live all of the time. There's never a delay. So I want to take you through now a few key reports related to that manufacturing piece I just showed you. So the first here is your production manager's dashboard, which is highlighting all of the key details, enabling them to make decisions. So for example, we're seeing on here production, how we're performing, our efficiency in each of our work centers. And on the left and on the right-hand side of the screen, you're seeing a live report of downtime and production loss. So each time one of those operators presses that button to turn into our downtime screen and turn that screen orange, we're going to start seeing on this production manager a change and a report of what particular downtime we're actually logging. We can really see how easy it is to start understanding and trending what is your downtime, so you can then start focusing your efforts on preventing those situations from happening. So a few more detailed reports. A material issue variance report is showing a list of work orders where the quantity needed is less than the quantity used in build. So this is really enabling you to ensure that components are getting issued in a timely fashion to help you improve your stock inventory levels, improve your accuracy, and then of course try and reduce those inventory levels as well. A past due report. So of course a really powerful report here. In this case it's showing us work orders that are more than 3 days old. But again, a dashboard view that you want to have on that production manager screen, so you can really focus on making sure that work orders that are overdue get the priority, make sure they appear on the tablet in the right sequence for the operators, and you can start clearing any backlog you may have. A downtime report, so this is looking at a more detailed view of one of those graphs from the production manager's dashboard. So a simple click through will take you down to this detailed report, highlighting all of the different times, durations, and where that particular downtime has occurred. So just a detailed view of that summarized graph. And this last screen here I really like is it's an operating work center view. So it's showing us here the efficiency by work center. So we can understand by department and by work center how much time we should have spent working, how much time we actually spent, what we completed, and therefore giving us a really good understanding of our efficiency by operation, by work center. So again, the data to help you understand where those bottlenecks are, where your routings may be out of date. Therefore, do you need to improve the process? Do you need to improve your routing? And therefore get better understanding of your costs as you're producing these products. So finally, I want to finish on looking at the customer. So communicating with your customer is critical to building relationships, but nurturing repeat business. But building that relationship relies on more than just good communication. It relies on you really getting to know and understand your customer and their habits. The manufacturer's report highlighted that nearly 90% of respondents communicate with their customers through paper, email, fax, and phone, but much less, no more than 30% are communicating through automated means such as EDI and customer portals. NetSuite's Customer 360 enables you to view all of your customers' interactions with you from one screen, again with the metrics that are important to you. And with NetSuite's full platform, CRM activities become empowered by your actual trading and customer support too. But does it make sense to offer promotions to place repeat orders when the customer has open support issues for that same product? With NetSuite, you have all this information at your fingertips, and you can stitch that into your own marketing rules to only market to people you really feel are a good prospect. So with NetSuite, your customer remains at the center of all of the transactions within NetSuite, be that orders, be that support, be that marketing, or anything else you may choose to add to your NetSuite related to that particular customer. It could also be third-party applications, but fundamentally you want that customer in the center so you can understand what you're doing with that particular customer. You want one single source of the truth, and you want multi-dimensional reporting capabilities to really understand what you're doing with that particular customer. So this screen is an example of our customer dashboard. So you see highlighted, we're showing you a timeline of interactions with the customer. So here we're showing you your emails, we're showing you your sales orders, we're showing you sales estimates or sales quotes that are going to that particular customer. You can also see highlighted and ticked what other information we may bring together. So it's not only about those emails, it's about the orders, it's about support issues. It's about campaign responses, so have they clicked through from marketing events or from emails you've sent to them. So that gives you a really good view of how you're interacting with that customer. But you're also seeing other metrics to do with that customer. So for example, what is their sales in this month compared to last month? What's the forecast from your pipeline this quarter versus last quarter? And what are the top items that particular customer's buying? So a really nice way, and again, this is a dashboard that you can tailor and choose to look as you wish, but a really nice way for you to really start understanding the trends and the patterns with each of your customers. So I'd like to end the presentation really just by summarizing what I've been through so far. The NetSuite offers a complete solution to support the modern business, including ERP, CRM, omnichannel business intelligence, and of course our powerful platform and manufacturing capabilities such as standard costing, capacity planning, and finite scheduling with manufacturing execution and of course real-time data collection. Through our Built for NetSuite program, we're implementing complementary core technologies from Oracle as well as other SDN ecosystem partners so that our solutions aren't just integrated, they are part of a whole product offering that enables more. So for example, Internet of Things, machine integration are becoming increasingly important, and you need a platform that not only supports this, but just as importantly, one that fits your business. And while our outstanding functionality, we've gone above and beyond other vendors to pre-configure the forms, workflows, KPIs, and dashboards and roles, and integrations that allow your business to realize value from day one. I'd like to end with a few comments from just some of our manufacturing customers. P3 Medical suffered with manual processes wasting time and money. They also suffered with poor visibility into inventory and sales, causing stock out and slow deliveries. They implemented NetSuite in under 5 months, including our customer self-service portal, and they achieved real-time data to alert management to bottlenecks and provide automatic website updates. Secret enabled their business growth through a rapid 2-month implementation of NetSuite. Secret has streamlined its critical business processes and now has real-time visibility across the business. And lastly, Technicable automated their front and back end office processes, enabling their business to thrive. NetSuite's Save Search capability helps customers navigate product catalogs easily, speeding sales and reducing search time. They chose NetSuite over on-premise business software and were up and running in just 3 months. This concludes my presentation today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and gained a good introduction to NetSuite's capabilities and how this ties back to the conclusions from the manufacturer's report. It's been a pleasure presenting to you today. I'd like to hand back.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. That was very, very entertaining. Thank you so much for your presentation. We've got time for a few questions coming in. You mentioned, Matthew, data and all of that. It's critical, of course, to monitoring the effectiveness of one's manufacturing management operations. But we've had several questions to do with that. Number one, who owns the data in the cloud? Who's responsible for protecting it? And I'd throw into that the fact we got GDPR coming in May with heightened penalties for failure to manage your data properly. And also about protecting your IP in the connected supply chain. You're sharing a lot of data. How do you protect your own IP? I wonder if you can address those for us.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So the data fundamentally within NetSuite always remains our customers' data. So it's not something we have access to. So NetSuite being built for the cloud from day one, we've always had security in mind, and our security is second to none. So for example, with things in Europe such as GDPR, it's something which we're actively working on to make sure we remain compliant with all of those security issues. When you look into adding your customers and your suppliers into your supply chain and having them visible within your ERP, our portals enable you to give your customers and your vendors logins to your system. The data they see is completely under your control of what you want each vendor or customer to see. So not only does NetSuite obviously not have access to your data, that remains yours. You then, as a customer, control what you want each user and, of course, your customers and vendors to be able to log in and to see. So, for example, something our customers love is having their customers and vendors log in and see their spend with you, their open balances, invoices that are due. So rather than them send you an email, make a phone call to you and say, hey, can you tell me what my outstanding invoice AR amounts may be, for example, have the customer log in and see for themselves, and then obviously get visibility of the underlying data of why does that exist, so what invoices remain unpaid. But fundamentally, back to your question, all of that data security, we obviously make sure your data remains secure in our cloud, but you as a customer retain complete control over who can see what.
We had a question, Matt, about people, about the staff and tracking staff. You talked about all the work orders and that sort of thing. Is there a module inside your service that allows for managing people as well?
Yes, there is. We offer a number of different modules related to that. We also have a number of partners that work with us very closely as a part of that Built for NetSuite program. Depending on what kind of functionality our customers are looking for around people management. For example, from a shop floor perspective, we can also track as part of the production. If it's important to your business, you can start assessing not only operation efficiency, so which work centers are the most efficient or least efficient, but you can also add into that employees, for example. So from a production perspective, you can start assessing literally down to the shop floor operators, efficiency levels by operation based on your routing, etc.
Okay, final question. I want to bring Henry back into this, Henry Anson, my colleague from the manufacturer, to talk about the finding about Brexit, whether a softer Brexit is going to be better for us all than a harder Brexit. Henry, what are your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Nick. When I mentioned Brexit in my particular part of the presentation, I wasn't making a political point. Brexit's actually had several very positive effects on UK manufacturing, noticeably and most obviously the exchange rate, which is definitely benefiting exports, although obviously with the cost of input rates. So that's been a very positive factor. One of the points I mentioned in my presentation was Brexit's forcing manufacturers to look further afield for their products, to sell their products and services. Again, very positive. And another thing that I believe is very positive is that the potential slowing up or lack of access to cheap overseas European labour is forcing certain sectors of manufacturing, particularly in the process area and food and beverage even more particularly, to start looking at automation and robotics in a way they haven't. I mentioned softer Brexit. Obviously, if there's a hard Brexit, there'll be tariffs. And the story of components of the BMW Mini crossing the channel 6 or 7 times before actually being completed is one that's quite well known. Clearly, that would have a very detrimental effect on the where it's built, but also on the pricing of that actual product. So, Brexit is by no means a bad thing, or certainly not all bad thing for manufacturing, but there are concerns about particularly around tariffs going forward.
Thanks, Henry. That's terrific. I'm afraid that is actually all the time we have for you today. We've had a number of questions which we haven't been able to get round to, but we are mindful that your time is very precious and we need to let you get on with your day. So what we're going to do is pass those questions across to Matt or to Henry, depending on who is most appropriate to answer them, and they'll get right back in touch with you later on today or tomorrow. So that is it from this Manufacturer webinar in association with Oracle NetSuite. We really do appreciate you joining us today. We will be sending all of you a link to the on-demand version of the webinar over the next few days. That'll include our contact details should you have any more questions. I'd like to give a very big thank you to Oracle NetSuite, to Matt Stonelake in particular, for sponsoring our webinar today, and in particular to you, our 2 hosts, for their insightful presentation. We hope you enjoyed it. That's all from us for now. Thank you very much for tuning in, and goodbye.